Hi, this is Jen Rubin. I am so delighted to have back with us Carlos Espina, who is an immigration activist, as you know, has probably the largest following on social media of anyone in the country, and hails from the great state of Texas. Welcome back, Carlos. It's so nice to see you.
No, nice to see you too, and I'm really excited to have this conversation.
It seems like it never ends. Give
Hmm.
us a sense of what the raids, the immigration, the kind of atmosphere is in Texas as the Trump administration, despite losing all these court cases, just keeps pushing and pushing and threatening and pushing.
Yeah, no, I mean, right now it's just a complete state of fear in Texas, and not just for undocumented immigrants, for anyone really. For example, like myself, I'm afraid, I have friends who have been here their whole lives, they're DACA recipients, they're undocumented, and, we're afraid to be like, hey, what if, I'm driving around going to go play soccer and they stop us and think I'm, trafficking people or whatever they're pinning charges on people nowadays. I mean, it's just really scary times. People with temporary status, which don't even know if that temporary status will protect them anymore. I mean, now you have Greg Abbott gave the green light for state troopers and other state authorities to collaborate with ICE. So now, you get pulled over on the highway for whatever infraction, and then you could be in an ICE detention center within an hour. I mean, it's really scary stuff, and it's having a big impact. I mean, on the economic level, obviously, people aren't going out as much. People aren't traveling between cities to cities. There's soccer games, for example, in Houston coming up in the summer. People are like, I'm afraid to drive to Houston. What if something happens? What if they do a raid outside of the stadium? And I mean, the message has always been the same. I think, if you're breaking the law, whatever, you've committed certain crimes, everyone can agree there should be consequences. But the fact is, it's not that. They're going after people who have done nothing wrong. They're just working, they're just driving to go play soccer, go to a concert, whatever, not harming anyone, getting pulled over and then deported within a few days. I mean, it's just something completely terrible.
Are people afraid to go out and look for work or to, go to their jobs if they have them at construction sites, at, wherever it is, retail places? Are they worried that someone's going to come into their workplace?
Yeah, no, I mean, they're afraid of people. Everyone I speak to, on a day-to-day basis is afraid. But those are just things that, you can't control. People have to work, people have to put food on the table. So they're going to work, but they're going there with fear. I think what you're seeing more is the impact of, limiting anything beyond work or dropping your kids off at school. People are kind of really narrowing down their social lives. They're not going out as much if they don't have to. I mean, it is a state of fear, but at the end of the day, people have bills to pay, mouths to feed, and they have to go and work. I mean, that's the only thing the option there is, unfortunately.
Do people have like a plan? I mean, if they are picked up, are people making arrangements with others? Are they trying to make sure that their kids, know where to go if they don't come home from work? This sounds horrendous, but people must be kind of thinking these things through in their daily life.
Yeah, no, this is definitely like something that's, I mean, it's always been a fear for many, because you're at the end of the day, if you're here without a legal status, you
Sure.
never know what could happen. But historically, the norm has been if you're working, you're paying your taxes, you're not bothering anyone, the government just kind of leaves you alone. It's like, prosecutorial discretion. Sorry, that word is hard for me to say. Like they choose to not go after people they don't have to go
Right.
after. They just,
You're
so
otherwise law abiding. You're
yeah,
otherwise contributing to society, right? You're not
exactly.
bothering anybody.
So historically, people have been like, I know I'm here without papers, but if I'm not doing harm to anyone, I don't have much to worry about. Now the fear is very real, and yeah, people are making plans. People have all these, guardrails in place, in case something happens. But even then, what does that really do for you? I mean, maybe it limits, the harm caused, but at the end of the day, if you get deported and separated from your family, there's really nothing that can, remedy that. So it is a very difficult situation. But I'm even seeing it now with U.S. citizens. Like I have people who are, people that I've done work with before, I just know on a personal level, who were hearing stories of, when you come back into the country, they're going through your phone, they're questioning you. I have a friend who has family on the other side of the border in Mexico. He went, and on the way back, they flagged some trips that he had done to the Middle East last year, and they detained him for like 12 hours being a U.S. citizen. I mean, these are
Oh
things that
my
are happening,
gosh.
and it's horrible. Like there's really no other word to use.
And you're right. It doesn't seem like even citizenship is going to protect you. I mean, student visas don't protect you. And so people are kind of paralyzed as to what they're going to do. Are there any local politicians who are pushing back? Are there mayors? Are there state reps? Are there people there in Texas who you look to at least, raise the alarm and explain what's going on?
Well, so it's a very interesting dynamic. So what the government has ended up doing is they're essentially punishing like any city, that speaks out against them. So I think many people have realized the best, strategy to protect your community is just, to not say anything at all, to draw attention to your city, just kind of stay out of the headlines, which is really what the administration wants to achieve, people who don't, resist their agenda and all that. But it is a very delicate line to balance. I've even had this, I've had this, I guess, inner thought myself. I'm like, hey, I really want to, go out and organize against everything that's going on, but at the same time, you do protests and it draws attention to people, and then you might be putting people in danger. So it's like a lot of people are trying to figure out, like, what do we even do in this moment? Do we just kind of stay quiet? Do we are we more selective about how we organize and what we do? I mean, it is really scary times. I mentioned it last time. I think the best thing we can do right now is just really, organize at the political level and get ready for the midterms. I think that's the only, safety net we may have within the next few years. And anything beyond that, sure, like mutual aid and helping people who have been detained and all that kind of stuff. But there really is like nothing saving us in the short term. That's just the sad reality.
Think you're absolutely right. Until we get these people out of office and until we get Congress people who are willing to push back, nothing much is going to happen. I'm curious, you came here from another country with this promise of America that it was going to be an
Mhm.
opportunity for a good life. There were rules, there were laws in place. Can you think back what your attitude towards America would have been if this was going on? I mean, if you look
Mhm.
back at your younger self, you must have seemed so idealistic, so hopeful.
Yeah,
And I
well,
wonder what that message now is to people around the world.
Well, in many ways, I still am hopeful. I'm idealistic because I do think, everything bad shall pass, right? And I think this is something that is when we look back 20, 30 years down the line, it's going to be a very big stain in the history of this country. It's going to be something that I really believe eventually we're going to, realize this was a big mistake. This is horrible what's going on. But I don't lose the hope. And I think many people is what's astounding to see, talking to people every day, like that hope at the end of the day, the government can try to take anything, everything from you, but they can't take our hope away, and I think that's really powerful. So I do still believe in the promise of America. Obviously, it makes you question a lot of stuff. Even like concepts like the rule of law have just become arbitrary. You've grown up your whole life thinking the Constitution means something, and now you have an administration that to them the Constitution means something different every day, and they can interpret it however they want, and they can do whatever they want. Or even then, you see like what's going on right now. The big conversation having today is, the white South African migrants who arrived today, which I don't have anything against them personally. I mean, God bless them. I hope they do great in this country. But, as someone who's, maybe been here 10, 15, 20 years working, paying taxes, and has no legal pathway to anything, and you're being persecuted and you're hiding from ICE, and then you see these people get a charter flight to come into the US and they're being treated like kings. It makes you wonder, like, is this really about immigration? Is this about something else? You know what? It's just so it is a very complex situation when there's no, I mean, the law, the Constitution, all due process. It just seems to be whatever this administration wants it to be. And it really does, tarnish the image of this great country.
It's so true. The official was asked, you're letting in all these Afrikaners, but what about people
Mhm.
from Afghanistan? What about other people who are coming to this country? And he said, well, these people will assimilate more easily. That just strikes me as we want white people. And I wonder, I mean, it doesn't even seem like they're ashamed anymore. They just say it out loud. And it almost seems like shame is gone at this point from these people.
Well, yeah,
Um,
that's the truth. I mean, that's the only logical analysis there can be to this. I mean, it's not jumping to conclusions, it's just seeing what's in front of you and, you know, coming to terms with, hey, this is what's going on. There's no other way to put it.
uh, Turning to a more hopeful subject, I think. Um, Pope Francis, who's a great friend to immigrants, to the poor, to workers, for environmentalists, passed away. And there's a new pope, an American pope for the first time in history, which is very startling for many people, whether Catholic or not. I'm wondering how the Hispanic community, how the immigrant community is reacting to him. Are they nervous? Are they cautiously hopeful? What's been kind of the reception in Texas?
Yeah, so I mean, everyone I speak with, they don't even consider him really to be an American pope. They consider him to be a Peruvian pope. And the reason why is very
Interesting.
interesting. So when it first came out, it's like he's an American, and many people didn't know much about him. And then it started coming out that he lived in Peru for 30 years, that he speaks Spanish, that he actually has Peruvian citizenship. He acquired it, and people are like, "Oh, wait, this is like another Latin American pope." So it was like a really cool like moment all around. And I think
Yeah.
it is a source of pride for many people, not just Peruvians, but Latinos in general. And there, you compare that to what's going on in the US, where on one hand, you're saying, there's this idea, right, that Latino immigrants can't assimilate to the United States and our cultures are not compatible. And on the other side, you have the Pope who kind of did the opposite. He went from growing up in the United States to choosing to live his life in Latin America and seems to be very happy having done that. So I do think it is in many ways like a show of unity, that the Latino, Latin American identity is very connected to the American United States identity, and they can coexist and they can thrive together. And I think, when it started coming out, some of the stuff he said on the issue of immigration and other stuff, I think it was like a big hope for, millions of people, not just Catholics, but everyone who cares about this issue. And I am hopeful that, especially JD Vance, right? Him supposedly being a huge Catholic and everything, kind of will listen to some of the teachings of this new Pope. We'll see. But it's always great to have world leaders who align with a humane view. And what's really interesting is, people did the same with Pope Francis. They would say, oh, he's a radical leftist and this and that. I mean, popes don't think along, political ideology. They think about what the Bible says, and that's how I mean,
Yes.
they don't belong to a political party. So it's very telling to see that if you think basic, human values like caring about others and feeding others is a radical left-wing ideology, then I mean that kind of says more about you than it does about the Pope or whoever it is that is saying, hey, we should treat people with respect because we're all God's children.
Boy, is that accurate? And it's just fascinating. We're so American centric because he was born here. Everyone claims this man, but you're right. He's as much Peruvian as he is an American.
Yeah.
And it just shows you how, on one hand, we take great pride in this. On the other hand,
Mm.
we kind of push away what he's saying. But I certainly hope he is as outspoken as Francis. I think it's almost like the whole world needs a counterweight, a different voice than Trump's. So let's hope he provides that. Carlos, it's always so great talking to you. We really appreciate it, and give our best to everyone in Texas and stay safe, stay optimistic. We'll look forward to having you back again soon.
No, thank you so much. And yeah, let's keep going. There's no other choice. We can't give up.